Hello, welcome everyone to Innovate You Dialogues. The purpose of our event is to build an inclusive community of women in STEM leaders and professionals who want to learn, share, and connect. Together with our guest speakers, we will amplify our voices, take bold actions, and create meaningful connections to create more positive impact in the community and beyond. I'm Amy O, founder and executive coach of Innovate You and Fascinate Certified Advisor. Welcome, and if this is your first time, today I'm so happy to have Nikki with me. So, Nikki and I worked in, and I worked in the same company before, and our common interest was to drive innovation and growth. So fast forward to today, Nikki Lottie is a digital enablement manager and UX lead at Roche with a passion for technology and change. She combines human-centric design with change management expertise to simplify processes, tailor user experiences, and drive innovation for procurement. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you, and thanks for including me in the conversation. I mean, it's an exciting topic I think we have today.
Excellent. For our audience, so if you have any questions, put it in the comments. So we'll get to it at the end. And if not, then it will be after the event. So keep those questions coming, right? So today, the topic is the buzzword to breakthrough women in STEM accelerating Gen AI adoption in the workplace. So maybe Nikki, well, first take a look at like three statistics there. I like to bring some data in before we dive into our conversation today. Now, the organizational adoption, right? Large companies that we know are doing a lot of the redesigning of their workflows, elevating their governances, and mitigating more risk as they implement the Gen AI usage to gain meaningful value from it. That's from the McKinsey study as well. By the end of 2024, they have seen that 70% of respondents, those companies reported regularly using Gen AI in at least one business function. It is a significant increase from the 65% that they saw early in the 2024. On the second note is that for the individual usage, in the US in particular, that approximately 28% of workers reported using Gen AI in their jobs, with 24% utilizing it at least once a week, and about 11% using it daily. And that's a numbers that I think that we can see the probably relevance also for us on this side of the border. Now, the skill demand shift as well. Job postings now that require the Gen AI skills have shown their 36.7 or higher demand on the cognitive skills, meaning that it indicates a shift of the requirement in roles that really involving Gen AI and use, right? The numbers really showing the rapid integration of Gen AI in the workplace and the evolving skill sets that is required. Now, I wonder if that's the case. What are you seeing, Nikki? So the first question I really have is the AI adoption is everybody is looking at it, like a lot of companies have it on their roadmap, and even with the numbers that is shown. But my understanding is talking to some people that many is still struggling with the actual implementation. What's the biggest challenge that you see that's facing and with your experience and adopting Gen AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people are excited about Gen AI and see it in their personal life too, and so kind of expect that in corporations as well. So more, it's easy, and one of the great things about AI is that it's easier to get started and the whole conversational aspect of it. But the
Mhm.
difficulty that translates to corporations is more of a lack of expertise, I think, in terms of implementing it, which is probably not as large as the appetite for actually using it. So there definitely is an ask, and we hear that in our own organization as well. And we recently polled our like global procurement organization about how often they use our internal AI, and it was about same like about 28% use it at least once a week, if not daily, but there's still a few people who've never touched it. And um, so there is kind of people are a bit scared of it, still, but I think overall just implementing it in a way that people are comfortable with, and also tying to that implementation, we also require like a AI strategy, and how you want
Mhm.
to take your best and learn more in terms of implementing it throughout your ways of working. There's also, I
Mhm.
think, a cost and an ROI concern for AI, as well as pretty new. People don't really understand whether they should make it in-house or buy externally, who are the right partners to work with. Obviously, there's some big players in the game, but lately, even with DeepSeek and everything, there's a lot of changes in the market about what's the best way to implement AI. And I think also a third one is integration into your existing technology stack. So you need to consider, like, you're often working with some archaic tools that within our business right now, and we can't just get rid of them and start fresh. But how does new AI tools play along with maybe like SAP, the large the large technology stacks we already have? But obviously, they're also working at how they bring AI into their own offering, and our
Right.
readiness. Yeah, our readiness of just our data quality and availability, and I think that ties with what our in our existing technology environment, and how does that work with AI, of course.
Absolutely. Well, there are many really great points that you mentioned there, Nikki. Just to highlight a couple of those that you mentioned about people not necessarily understanding the ROI, right? The cost of it is it just to bring it in now, or should it be later? How do you justify of the spending, whether it's to build it in house or to buy it? There's definitely experts on getting some of those applications in, but there's always that debate, right? Like whether you build it in house or not, like whether it's a Gen AI solution or just a regular, the traditional technology that you always have to consider what gives you back the most value, right? Also, you mentioned about the to have like a full strategy among how do you incorporate it and like in what pace, right? And you have existing technology that you may or may not be easily be able to replace with a chunk of it or a small part of it with the Gen AI solution. You might have to change a lot in the workflows and completely revamp or redesign it. And sometimes it's actually a good thing to do, right? Like it give you a chance to revisit. Has it been like as effectively designed, and how it should be changed in order to incorporate some of these newer technologies, right? And also, as you mentioned about the data, like I said, the data ready, because we all know having those solutions that to be effective is that you need to have the right data, the good data that is behind it. Otherwise, then the tool is not as useful, right? So a lot of companies may be facing that. And if you think about like an organization with a good size, have all these challenges, right? What about for the smaller ones that they don't necessarily have the pool of resources that they have in the company to help them move forward? And so that might also affect the adoption rate as well, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think even with the access to data and how people, like, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, and how people at different sizes of organizations use it. There's also, I think, a concern in terms of like the transparency really of how AI works, and
Yeah.
like if you have confidential information, all of that, and if you're using AI, I think
Mhm.
especially in a smaller organization, that's also a concern with the security risk and how much appetite you can really have in terms of um,
Yeah.
considering using Gen AI.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you hear most about, like in your organization, when you're talking about let's try this, like, and as you bring in the change, right, for the teams?
I think a lot of people are excited about it. At Roche, it's part of our like 10-year ambition to be like a leader in terms of data and
Yeah.
digital in the pharmaceutical
Yeah.
industry. So there really is a push from our leadership as well to adopt it.
Hmm.
We I think people are still not completely sure when to use different kinds of Gen AI tools, like whether we
Mm,
have an internal version called like roast chat, so how to
yeah.
like a version of ChatGPT. So what exactly is behind that? What can I ask? So there
Hmm.
are some questions in terms of like the transparency of it, but in general, people are pretty excited, and then also they're seeing it more and more on top of like in their day to day lives. So I think now there's almost like an expectation of us. Like, so where are you bringing Gen AI in
Right,
as well?
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's great to hear because like and if you're more in sync with like how individuals that might be using it in their personal lives and they can also do that in their work life, right? That consistency really help people to adopt that and getting into the habit of using it and using it in the right way. That is also very important as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I wonder, what about the your observation with like women leaders who are playing a crucial role in shaping the Gen AI strategies? Can you share your story of like how you see women-led initiatives that successfully have driven the Gen AI adoption in an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. In my organization, so I'm part of a global procurement team that supports like the procurement uh, around the world, and also, like I mentioned, part of our 10-year goals is to be more digital and data focused. So I have a colleague on my team who's leading how we integrate AI into our ways of working, both for
Mhm.
the stakeholders of procurement, but then also looking at how we within procurement can use Gen AI tools in our own daily work. And I think I'm in kind of a lucky position because within procurement, we get a lot of working with suppliers and vendors, and especially startups who are looking to integrate AI and to stay on top of the market and stay competitive. So Katrin, so my colleague, she leads the strategy, and we're looking at initiatives like how to build more co-pilots for procurement. So to because there's obviously AI is never going to replace having a human in the loop and making sure that they're credible for all the decisions. But she's leading a project that's looking at, like I said, co-pilots for procurement professionals to be able to consult and simplify comparing different proposals we get, looking at all the different contracts while we negotiate with different vendors and just compare what we have internally across our historical data
Mhm.
and just come back in terms of like negotiation tactics as well to just really help someone do what they do regularly like faster and
Sure.
smoother. And I
Yeah.
myself am actually leading a project as well that's looking to bring Gen AI to our knowledge management approach that we have. So of
Mhm.
course, like any change or new solution comes with a bunch of training, like videos. We have a large internet. Everyone has their own site. All this information, all this unstructured data exists around the world. So we're looking at how to capture that through Gen AI, bringing that expertise that exists in pockets around the company, but in a way that's conversational for people and kind of democratizes where all of that is. So there's tons of great examples, but definitely women have been at the lead in terms of experimenting and driving that implementation.
Right. I love that. Thanks for sharing that and the insights with us that how you seeing a lot of women are leading and yourself is one of them. And the company has been learning and how to integrate more AI, Gen AI tools in the company and helping in various areas as well, even just within the procurement, right? I imagine that there are other parts of the companies also looking into using it. But great example that you have mentioned there of like a leading example on how women are helping on integrating and looking at opportunities to how make the work and the process more effective and gaining some of the efficiency as well in order to kind of bring more better solutions and better information for the discussion with customers, right? And then in the forefront. So that's is exciting to hear with all these different opportunities there is in your company as well. Thanks for sharing that, Nikki. Now, maybe let's take a quick look at how we can accelerate. the AI adoption, right? So we talk about some of the statistics earlier on that it seems like there are companies that are like really moving into adopting AI, but in our discussion that that's not necessarily the case in every pockets or in every corners of the organization. There are people that are still skeptical about that and not sure like if should lean in on in using some of these tools because you have the privacy concern, the security concern, which having a strategy, having a committee perhaps in the organization looking at the ethical ways of deploying these Gen AI solutions is important as well. So I wonder now, the Gen AI is really, it's not just about technology shift, right? Like we hear like in between the conversations we had earlier and also with other people, it is really about how we can shift and bringing that through the leadership. Right? It's important that we have a leadership to understand what it means, how it should be introduced, and what pays, and what are the concerns and risks, and that we need to look into as well. So, what skills do you think that for women, as in your examples, that the women STEM leaders are needed to develop in order to successfully bringing in Gen AI and running those projects better?
Yeah, so I've always been an advocate of design thinking and just
Hmm.
trying to understand what your users trying to do and also build iteratively, which I think really complements how AI works. So start with a small group of users, test small, and this actually also helps with training the model over time as well and capturing the information. So really having that test and learn approach, a phased approach in terms of AI is definitely a skill. It like I think it works better rather than big bang, and then over time you can people get more comfortable and also the model gets more accurate as well over time. So being able to uh, build like think strategically in terms of how you want iterations or take smaller bets or how you see things growing, that's
Hmm.
definitely an important skill in terms of how you want to approach AI. But in
Right.
general, I would say it's also good to understand to have the skills of how you want to evaluate the different use cases for AI. I think everyone thinks they can like sprinkle it everywhere and it'll be good, but I think yeah, I really recommend like take the time to educate yourself and understand AI. Like, what does it mean to be non-deterministic? Like, what causes hallucinations? All of that stuff, so you can really help guide like at what point in in your existing processes AI makes the most sense to assist and how it can really drive a business goal will help, I think, communicate uh, and build towards that strategy that makes more sense for your organization.
Totally. I love that you brought in the point using design thinking, like as we know, is a human centric design, right? Like as we bring in technology, and especially with the Gen AI tools, that they're really just the tools. The people aspect has to be right in the center, right? Like we cannot forget that we're using these tools. It's not because that we wanted to just use the technology because it's cool. It's because we wanted to help people to do their job better, to augment what they do better, right? And so putting them right in the center and understanding how this can actually improve and help them to do their work and giving them the chance to test and learn, right? As if you involve people early on, to get them to just put their hands on it and try and see what that really means helps the adoption and having the leaders to understand that aspect and knowing how to use that to utilize the methodology to help and bringing in people, that's definitely crucial. And I like what you said also about having the leaders to understand like the broader strategy, right? And also what it really means, understanding the tools better, what would it take, like what kind of data that is involved and is needed, and to eliminate and minimize the biases that that's so much there, like in the data. but also understanding when that what they're seeing is probably a hallucination of what the results is giving back from the tools, and to be cautious about not just to just bring out whatever it comes back with, and to using that critical thinking as well, right? Wow, that's a very, very good point there. Um, with that said, for organizations that probably is still hesitating, because we talk about all the different reasons that the people are skeptical, they're still not sure, they wanted to know more about that before they lean in. Um, so they don't necessarily embrace and bringing in the Gen AI tools. What steps do you think is practical for women in some leaders to take to drive the adoption?
I think one, again, understand your business and know where you can create, where you have the space to experiment and take small bets and learn. And of course, I think bring people along in your journey. So like classic like change management, start small. And for example, we have a prompt library, so we capture like some of the best in class prompts where then that other
Mm,
people can share so that they can look at how they can use it to their own use case, because obviously there's a skill and an art in terms of
yeah,
prompting that people need to learn. So it's just creating like practical materials where people can come and try. So typical like the change management skills, and to understand like also where in your business like who kind of has the appetite. There's usually some sort of like change advocates or people who are like small groups of people that you know that are more excited to try it out and work with these groups who are interested in advocating for new technology. So, like I said, we're in procurement, so we luckily get the chance to partner with startups and like because they're also interested in learning about working with corporations and how we can co-create better solutions and looking at Gen AI. So this gives us both a valuable place to learn. So I'd also look like outside your organization and attend talks like these and just see what's ways that you can experiment and learn and who else out there is implementing it. So like learn from what's out there because it all really is. But yeah. Um,
yeah. Excellent, excellent points there. The change aspect, right? The bringing in the change management, like, and just like how other tools that you bring in, that's all about the people change that is important. That to recognize and to bring people along. So not to isolate or like to not involve them until the very last stage of the implementation. That is so crucial. Like I think that we both have seen some of the good learnings, or like that if we were to call them the failures, is that when you don't have the people get involved early, when you don't have people to buy in, and you just shuffling some technology over and thinking that it will just magically happen, it doesn't work like that, right? It is truly about leading and managing the change and helping people to change gradually, right? And understanding what that looks like, understanding how using the tools has advantage, right? And recognizing there might be some disadvantage that you need to adjust to consider and adapt to it. But listening to people who are going to be in the forefront using those tools to bring them along, and that is crucial as a leader on bringing any change. Um, and also to your point that having those resources for them that they can share, right? Having the prompt library, for example, as you mentioned, so people learn something, they can share it out, and that build upon that knowledge, and so that it accelerate the next group of users that are going to adapt to using the tools, as well as start building that best practices early on, so
yeah,
then the adoption would be easier, right?
exactly. And sorry, I just want to add one more thing. So even when
Yeah.
you're in sandbox and just testing, get your end users to try it, even if it's inaccurate, the model's wrong. Get them to like feel they have agency and like tell us, give us feedback, and that, like I mentioned, helps train the model and makes it more accurate. And if they feel like they're part of owning the solution, then they're your first advocates as well. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and it's always like partnering with them to bring this is together, not just like on one side, and like either is the management that who wants to bring in a new tool, or like the technology people that wants to bring in a new tool,
Yeah.
but it's actually a partnership, like to kind of make all the work much easier for people that is doing that,
Yeah.
right? Love it. So for me, that thank you so much for sharing all these different insights. And as we talk about like how women leaders are like helping and accelerating the adopting of Gen AI in your organization, and also somewhere else as well, that they're working towards that goal, and by educating themselves, educating others around them, using the resources that is possible. Um, Out there, that we know a lot of people are in the field that are providing good resources as well, and bringing that in with the good change management support that is crucial. Bringing in the design thinking concept of putting the people in the center, so then you're designing something that is going to enhance and augment the work, not just shuffling over of a technology piece, right? um, so it is really about the leadership that, as we talk through, and be inclusive, bring people along, and driving that meaningful change is crucial as we adopt, like whether it's Gen AI or more other AI solutions, as we evolve so quickly in this space. So, for our audience, what is that one action that, from what you have heard from Nikki, that you can take now to drive the Gen AI adoption in your team or in your organizations? Have a think, and also share that in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you're listening to the recording later on, do put it on the comments, that will come back, and absolutely would like to continue to have these dialogues going. So let's take a look here if there is any questions from the audience. I'm not seeing on that note. I just want to double check. And so I had it on earlier, but I don't think that there is anything right now. But do put that on the comments, and Nikki and I will definitely keep an eye on that, and answer your questions now, later, or after you have listened to the recording. With that said, we are about time, but I just wanted to ask one more questions, Nikki, if you don't mind. So looking ahead, what is the one advice you have for our audience that you can share to help them navigate this Gen AI transformation in the workplace?
I think like don't be afraid of it. Maybe your corporation doesn't or have an AI strategy yet, but be the first to check it out, help people along the journey, find like-minded people who are excited about it, and be that voice of challenge and start that discussion. There are often other people like thinking the same thing, but just looking to start the conversation and bring in that strategy. Of course, educate yourself and try it hands-on, and it's a lot more authentic when you speak from a place of experience of really how much Gen AI has like helped you in your own life. So I think that's yeah, be fearless. That's my advice.
Yeah. Absolutely, I love that. Like, and hands on, right? Like, do
Mhm.
some experiment yourself and try it on, and not to be afraid, and play with it, right? And you might learn something you never knew, like, and discover something new that in a way that it can really help you, and also your colleagues in the organization. So, and actually start playing with it, and try testing it out is the best way to learn, and also to see there are opportunities there. So thank you so much, Nikki, and joining us, and also our audience as well, joining us now and later listening to the recording. Thank you, Nikki, for providing your insights and sharing your view of how women in STEM leaders are helping and accelerating the Gen AI adoption. So I'd love you to join us next time. So don't forget also follow Nikki on LinkedIn, that you know where to find her. And also ring the bell on my profile so you don't miss any update. Our next Innovate You dialogues will be on April the 4th, and it's also Friday, same time. And our topic is going to be from technical expert to visionary leader, redefining women leadership in STEM. More detail to come. Will reveal like who our guest speaker would be very shortly. If you're ready to amplify your leadership, schedule a time with me to explore how our partnership is going to help you advance your career. Thank you and bye for now. Have a great weekend.